Hi, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Full Court Podcast with your host, Orazio. So we reached the end of the EuroLeague season. Anadolu Efes was once again crowned as the EuroLeague champions in the final against Real Madrid. It was a very spectacular Final Four, very tense until the very end. And but now we have a champion. We have a champion to finish the season. And once again, Coach Ataman was right, and he was raising those fists as he predicted during the playoffs. So to talk about what happened during the Final Four in Belgrade, and to share, our thoughts and our opinions on what happened there. My guest for this week is Greek journalist Vasiliki Karamouza. Vasiliki, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. So, as I said, with Vasiliki, we're going to focus on what happened during the Final Four in Belgrade. So to begin the conversation, Vasiliki, I wanted to ask you, first of all, how was it for you, first Final Four after, 2 years of COVID. So first Final Four back with fans, with people in the stands. So to kind of have, again, the real atmosphere of the EuroLeague Final Four. So just give me your thoughts on how did you feel during the Final Four, the kind of experience that you had in Belgrade?
Well, first of all, it was my first Final Four of my career, so It was pretty special. Yeah, I think Belgrade was a perfect destination for the EuroLeague to host the Final Four there, because there are a lot of COVID restrictions, so everybody were maskless, and the stadium was full of crowd. Most of the people were from Greece, Olympiacos fans. They created a great atmosphere. The weather was really nice. The city was really nice. Everybody was very vibrant and basketball driven. I think we saw pretty good matches, like not very high score, but pretty intense till the last second, as you mentioned before. So in general, everything went great. The organization, I think everywhere were pleased with the Final Four.
Okay. So as you mentioned, of course, this was a very important moment also for Olympiacos. A lot of fans coming from Greece. Most of the fans in Belgrade came from Greece. And we saw actually the difference in the final when most of the Greek fans weren't in the stands. There were a lot of empty seats because of that. But one of the probably most emotional moments during the Final Four was when Giorgos Printezis, celebrated, he embraced the fans, because most likely this was the last EuroLeague game played by Giorgos Printezis. So I wanted to ask you a little bit, what do you think is, in a way, the legacy that Giorgos Printezis will leave in the EuroLeague and in Olympiacos as a team, of course?
Yeah, it's most probably his last EuroLeague game. He didn't say it. I think every reporter there asked him in every possible way, but he didn't want to reveal that yet.
Yeah.
It was very emotional. Olympiacos fans love him, but not only Olympiacos fans. He's very well respected among all Greek fans, which is, I think, the best achievement of his career among the trophies and all the titles. He's a real nice person, very good character, polite, always smiling, cheering for his teammates. He's been there for Olympiacos for so many years, through good, through bad. So I think that he wished to lift the trophy as a team captain for the first time in his career, but it didn't happen. So he was really frustrated about it, and he got really emotional during the small final, the third place game. Everybody loved him. The whole crowd applauded for him and called his name. So it was a really nice moment. But of course, he would have wanted to be a more successful Final Four.
Yeah, and of course for Olympiacos it was heartbreaking because they lost the semifinal really at the last second with that 3-pointer from Vasiliki Karamouza, and it's definitely tough to lose in that way because they did play a very good game until the end. They were there. They were definitely ready also for an overtime if the game would have gone to an overtime. So with you being there, how did you see the reaction from the team after the game? It was, of course, it's really tough to recover from such a difficult losses, but how did you see them? Did you see really a lot of frustration in there, or it was just, we did what we could have done, we did our best, in the end it just didn't work?
I think they were all very disappointed and frustrated. They never said that they believed they could win the title, but I believe deep down they thought they could manage to do that. After that playoff series against Monaco, they fought very hard to be there. They had real good chances, but things didn't work their way. They were down 11 points at some point. I think I recall the beginning of the third quarter, I said, okay, this game is going to overtime. But Vasiliki thought otherwise. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's really tough when you lose this way with a buzzer beater. Like, Misic is one of the best guards and the best players in Europe, but it's really hard losing this way. I think it would be better if they lost 10 or 20 points. They would have realized it earlier in the game, but they believed till the very last minute. So, yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. And of course, now going to the final game between Efes and Real Madrid, as we said, it was a very intense game, not exactly a high-scoring game, especially in the second half. There were moments in which both teams looked like they didn't really want to score. Real Madrid scored only 8 points in the third quarter, so it was a very, very low-scoring game, but it was really, really intense until the very end. Were you a little bit surprised by how Real Madrid decided to handle those last few seconds of the game? Because, of course, there were a lot of comments and criticism to Coach Laso for that decision to not foul on the FS last possession. Personally, were you surprised when you saw that?
Yeah, me and other colleagues were saying that exact same thing as the game went towards the end. Like, I didn't really understand it. I think there was some confusion in Real bench. Like, they maybe thought they were ahead in the score, not behind. I don't know. It was like a strange game in general. Yeah. Because only Larkin, Misic, and Plyce had 52 of the 58 points FS scored, if I'm not wrong. So, that was... Yeah. And Larkin went scoreless in the second half. So it was practically only Misic and Plyce playing for FS at that point. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that FS deserved to win the title. Real had to get past a very tough obstacle, beating Barcelona in the semifinal. These games usually don't are in favor of the teams that play from the same country in the same final, as you already know. So, yeah, I think FS deserved to get that win, and they got it.
Yeah, and of course, as we also said it at the beginning of the show, the prediction from Coach Ataman in the end was successful, and he showed once again a lot of enthusiasm. Of course, we know that Coach Ataman is a real character of our European basketball. When he was present in the post-game conference, were you really entertained by his show? Because it looks like Coach Ataman puts on a show every single time he goes to a press conference, especially after such a big win.
Yeah, Coach Ataman entertains everyone whenever he talks. So, yeah, that was a pretty good party. He was very confident all along, and everybody were asking him, how can you be that confident in your team? Yeah, you got one of the best teams, but how can you be that confident? And he just knew it. I had a conversation with Brian Danston after the game, and he told me the first day of the season, and the practice coach Ataman said, we are the best team and we'll have to prove it to the world. So they went there and did that. They had some ups and downs, but every team has that. But they managed to go through the end. Yeah, Coach Ataman is always very, very pleasant to be around and listen what he says. He's always full of lines.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he enjoyed it very much.
Yeah. And of course, with the EuroLeague season now coming to an end, the Final Four in Belgrade was also kind of a very important moment for the future of the competition, because now there's a lot of question on what will happen going forward for EuroLeague, starting from the EuroLeague CEO, from Jordi Bertomeu, who is supposed to step down at the end of this season. So there will be the need for a replacement. Of course, there were many press conferences in Belgrade with Jordi Bertomeu speaking multiple times. With you being there, did you get the feeling that it is a man on the exit way for Jordi Bertomeu?
I think he's prepared for every possible scenario. He has accepted the fact that maybe this is his last season, but I think there's a fine line at this point because we don't really know what will happen with CSKA Moscow, and they have a right to vote because they are one of the shareholders of the EuroLeague. So I think everything is 50-50, but the rumors and the talks around Europe say that, yeah, this is his last season. I think Dejan Bodiroga and Jesus Bueno are among the candidates to replace him, but I think we'll have a very long summer, not only when it comes to transfers, but as it goes to the future of the EuroLeague as well.
Yeah. And regarding the CEO position, I'm curious, do you have some specific name that would you like to see in that position?
No, I haven't thought about that, but I would like to see someone that has been in a similar position before. So to know how to handle things and move the competition forward. I think the main problem of the competition is that the teams don't get much money. They spend more money as they earn. So that's a big problem that needs to be solved at some point. And I would really like to see someone that will make peace with FIBA. So we don't have that program issues during the season, that players can play for the national teams in the windows. So yeah, so we can move on.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that I wanted to ask you, of course, regarding Olympiacos moving forward, this was an important moment for them because they haven't been to the EuroLeague Final Four for a while. So returning there was definitely important. But do you feel that this season has positioned Olympiacos again really among the elite of the European competition?
Yeah, I think that what Olympiacos have managed to do with less budget than the other teams is really admirable. I believe that they will keep Coach Giorgos for the next season. He doesn't have a contract, but I think the renewal is almost certain at this point. They need to make a few moves, like 2 or 3. I don't think they will make a whole renewal of the roster. Yeah. But it's not easy because Virtus is coming back to the league, and it said that they will give a lot of money to build their roster. We don't know if the Russian teams will be there, if CSKA will play, what will happen with the players that were in those teams, which teams will get the wild cards. So there's a lot to see, but I think they had a pretty great solid season. They deserve to be there in that Final Four. It's not an easy job to be there every single season. So yeah, they need to work from the scratch when the new season starts.
Okay. So since you said that this was your first EuroLeague Final Four experience, I wanted to ask you, what's let's say, if there is a single specific moment that you're going to take away from that experience and that you will remember for a while?
Being recognized among other journalists from all over Europe. Like, I've never been in that situation before. The COVID made it really hard to attend games, speak with players, get to know other reporters from all over Europe. So when someone says your name and like they say, yeah, I know you work there, or I've seen your tweets or something, it's really nice to see your work being recognized.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are reaching the end of this brand new episode of Full Court Podcast. Before we finish, of course, I want to remind everyone that Full Court Podcast is also available in the audio version on Spotify and all the other major streaming platforms. Of course, the full format of the show can be found always on our website, BasketNews.com, and on our YouTube channel. So I wanted to thank Vasiliki for jumping on the podcast and giving us her impression about the EuroLeague Final Four. Thank you very much for joining us, Vasiliki.
Thank you as well. It's always a pleasure talking with you.
And so this is the end for this new episode of Full Court Podcast. This marks also the end of our first season of Full Court Podcast. So we're going to see you in a bit. So thank you very much to everyone for watching throughout the season, and goodbye.